Hello, hello. It is Monday the 13th of March 2023 and you're watching The War on Error with me, Graham Hughes. Welcome back. Sorry I was away last Thursday. I was filming something in the pub in Liverpool, at a different pub in Liverpool. We were filming an episode of several episodes actually, of Would They Lie to You, which is all about conservative lies. And on Friday, I was filming an episode of Pubcast. You remember Three Blokes in the Pub? Yeah. With a couple of Labour MPs. Saturday, I decided to drive halfway across the country and back for some reason. And then yesterday, I was doing some more filming as well. So, I've been quite busy. I was on the Sunday roast yesterday with Alex and Maximilian. So if you saw that, if you were there, or if it reminded you that I exist and you've come back over to watch me tonight, hello, welcome. Thank you for coming back. And if you're new here, hello, you're very welcome. Please drop a comment into the chat, as long as it's not mean. Well, you can be mean as you like about Tories, because, Tories. Okay, so I'm going to just jump into your chats here. We've got John Barleycorn saying hello. We've got number 3 saying hi, JB. We've got Philip Crossley saying hi, number 3, and also hi, JB. We've got Graham Haller saying evening all. After the goings on of the week, this could be an epic show. It could be. I don't know if it is going to be, actually, because I don't know what more there is to say about this fucking government. I mean, look, let's face it, the practical upshot of all that's happened in the last week has reduced the Tory, the small Tory score that they had anyway in the polls. Score, is that the right word? Well, the percentage in the polls has gone down 4% on average in just the last week, and that's a combination of, I'm sure, discussed over the refugee policy that they are debating right now, and that Suella Braverman is now saying that, oh no, don't worry, children won't be sent off to, die in some other country. They won't be exempt from the modern slavery laws. Sorry, did I say children? I meant to say unaccompanied children. My mistake. So that's just happened, if anyone's watching what's happening in the House of Commons, which is very depressing. And a popular football pundit, an ex-footballer, Gary Lineker, he thought he'd have a few words to say about it. And what he said was this is reminiscent of the rhetoric that was used in Germany in the 1930s, which it is. And to prove that it's not at all like the 1930s in Germany in any way, shape or form, They told him he couldn't be on TV anymore, because of free speech. Freeze the peach. Get the peach, freeze it, put it in the freezer, free speech. My God. And so it was exposed, the fact that 3 of the top people in the BBC are Tory party familiars, acolytes, donors, ex-councillors. I mean, these people are all in and out of the actual Tory party, like a revolving door into the media, into the Tory party, back into, and this incestuous relationship between these people who all went to school together. Worth noting, it's just disgusting. It's just absolutely disgusting that Gary Lineker was told that he couldn't present. He was being suspended. He was being suspended for having the audacity to write a tweet. Whereas the chair of the BBC, Richard Sharp, he was not suspended, while 2 separate investigations were trying to get to the bottom of whether he facilitated an £800,000 loan for Boris Johnson when he was Prime Minister, when Richard Sharp was going for the BBC job, which was decided by, you're gonna love this, the Prime Minister. Now, Richard Sharp is saying that he didn't do anything at all. And do you know how I know he's lying? Because he's a fucking Tory. That's how I know he's lying. Anyway, so Sunak was in Santiago. Why wasn't he here sorting out all the crises? I don't know. Maybe he was sinking the Silicon Valley Bank. Ooh. So Silicon Valley Bank, it's a subsidiary in the UK, has been bought out by HSBC. In the US, basically, they're screaming now for the government to come and rescue them and bail them all out because they've invested all this money in this bank. And, this bank is run by people who have lobbied the government in America for less regulation. Do you know what happens when you have less regulation in the banking industry? Well, they take bigger risks. It's like when someone's a compulsive gambler, making it easier for them to gamble, putting up the amount they cost to gamble so they can just spend more money gambling. That's what happens. You need to have rules and regulations in there to stop people doing that. You have to have a rule against murdering people. I know this sounds a bit woke, but it's a really bad thing to murder people. Yeah, it's a really bad thing. Murdering people's bad, okay? So they have laws against it because we know, and I know that while the vast majority, if there was no law against murder, would still not murder anyone because it's not a very nice thing to do, there is a significant minority in this country that would just go and murder people if they could get away with it. I'm sorry to say, but there is. So, that's what they do. They go up to the government. They say, can you have less regulation, please? Less regulations. The tobacco, the firearms, the arms manufacturers, the fast food makers, all these different lobby groups. These fucking alcohol, the pharmaceutical, big pharma. They lobby and lobby. What, less regulation? What do you want? Less regulation. We want less regulation so we can do what the fuck we want. And what do? They overreach and don't have the money to actually back up what they're saying. And in particular for Silicon Valley Bank, that's obviously probably run. I don't know, but I get the idea. It's probably run by a bunch of crypto bros. Yeah, great. Anyway, so that went bump. And now they're asking the government that they lobbied to deregulate them. They now need help. And the government tells them to fuck off and say, look, you wanted the deregulation, mate. Bye. But then there's a knock-on effect. Share prices have gone down all over the US and all over Europe as well. So people have lost money, actual normal people have lost money as well as tech bros, billionaires, which I care less about. But, it's still a bit of a knock to the economy. That's a lot bigger than the knock to the economy caused by refugees. In fact, a bit like the 350 million pounds a week that supposedly went to the NHS. It was a lie. Our membership of the European Union netted us about £2 billion gross a week. Every week, £2 billion a week. That was what our membership of the EU netted us gross. So maybe if you deducted the 300 million that it cost to be part of the EU, we were still massively quids in with £1.7 billion a week richer than we would have been had we not been part of the EU. We're not part of the EU now, and our economy still hasn't recovered from us leaving the EU. It's not bigger than it was when we left the EU. I know we had the pandemic, but every other country in the world, literally every fucking country, even Venezuela has a bigger economy than it did in 2019. We don't. Good old Brexit. Anyway, so yes, we've got some fantastic news. Mikey Famine going to hospital tonight for her first kiddo's birth. Wow, Mikey, congratulations, mate. Bloody hell. Fantastic news. That's from Plum Duff. Good luck, Mikey. Hope all goes well, Mikey. And that's fantastic. That is really, really good. Excellent. We've got Teboy1 saying evening from Norway. Hi, Skull. I've been watching old Les Dawson films. He was funny. That's from Plum Duff. Completely random. I love it. Flashing me late as usual. Number 3. I told you I'm never late, nor am I early. I arrive precisely when I mean to, or when my fucking technology allows me to. Come on, I'm trying to bodge like a channel, like a proper grown-up professional channel with a bunch of kit and cabling and mics that have basically either been donated to me or I've got second hand or have been bought for me as a birthday present over successive birthdays over the last 20 years. Yeah, I'm not even kidding about that. The tripod that my camera is on is over 20 years old. It's a Manfrotto. If you were wondering what type of tripod would I use to film this, it's a Manfrotto. But yeah, and since then it's all been the really cheap, the £20 tripods that you used to get from Jessop's. Sorry, why am I going off on a bloody tangent about fucking tripods? So stay focused, Graham. Anyway, back onto it was the comment from Plum Duff about Les Dawson that just set me off in my own little tangent. Sorry very much. So David says, has anyone watched the great short and anti-homophobic Spanish movie El Mundo Entero, subtitled in English on YouTube? David's been trying to get everyone to watch this, so if someone else could watch this, that'd be really cool, and I'll try and watch it if I remember. I need to make like notes. I should have like a notepad and a pen, and I'll write things down. I've been watching Beyond Creepy Videos. That's number 3. Ein Vok en Reich ein Braverman says, Freckle Puny. That's what is it? One people, one Reich, like one. What would you call that? Government, I guess. No. What do they call it in France? Republic. One. That's not the right word, is it? A Reich kind of meant like rule of law. Meant government. Meant I don't know. Let's just use the word Reich. Everyone knew what that was. I'm one Braverman, I think. My German's a bit rusty, you know. But you know, don't tell J.K. Rowling about a German, because they've got masculine, they've got feminine, but then they've also got neuter. Don't tell her. She'll go fucking crazy. You can only have one or the other. You can't have both. Stanley Johnson is a wrong and says Plum Duff. Yes, he's a wife-beating piece of shit. Something I've been saying on this channel for a long time. And finally, thanks to the sterling effort of Fiona Bruce, hopefully being kicked off Question Time Forever for what she said, she drew a lot of attention to the fact that Stanley Johnson is a fucking wife beater, and her dismissive tone and the way she said, well, his friends say he only did it once, it was a one-off, to which people got onto Twitter and YouTube and Facebook and other things that you operate with your thumbs, and said, yeah, Hitler invading Poland, that was only a one-off. Mark Chapman shooting fucking John Lennon, that was only a one-off. It was only a one-off. Why are you still going on about it? It was in 1980, for God's sake. That was a one-off. Imagine going to the police and going, I've committed the murder. And they're like, oh shit, that's bad. Should we arrest you? And you go, no, you don't need to arrest me. It was a one-off. And the mad thing is, Fiona Bruce and her eyebrows were actually an ambassador for a domestic violence charity, which she isn't anymore, by the way, obviously. But her need to defend the Tories, like the way the BBC behave, they're like the presenters come across to me now. Like, you know, when people were kidnapped in Iraq and they had by ISIS, and they had to read out statements that, you know, obviously they were being forced to read about how well they were being treated before they were gruesomely executed the next day. But like, you know that kind of like hostage speech. That's the vibe I get from the BBC these days, and I don't think I'm the only one. And not only has Fiona Bruce's behaviour on Question Time actually brought to light a lot more the fact that Stanley Johnson is a fucking wife beater. Also on multiple occasions, by the way, not just the one. And if it's not true, Stanley, fucking sue me. Come on, come back over from France and fucking sue me. And the other thing is that obviously it is almost perfect timing to show how much in thrall of the Tory party the BBC has become, how cowed it has become, and cowardly, because of the Tory party putting its moles into the BBC, putting its people into the BBC, its spies, its KGB agents, let's put them in the BBC, and then it won't be a woke lefty institution anymore. And what's been really funny over the last week as well, with obviously this is on the back of everything that happened with Gary Lineker's tweet where he had to be kicked off Match of the Day, and everyone else had this wonderful I'm Spartacus moment in which Ian Wright and Alan Shearer also said, nah, fuck this, we're out of here, we're not doing this, and also Alex Scott and other presenters of football programmes on the BBC, so we're not doing this. So they also lost Soccer Saturday or whatever it's called these days, and Match of the Day. They didn't have Match of the Day, it was just highlights from the football without any commentary. It's fucking hell, BBC, what are you doing? What are you doing? But like I say, the good thing is that it's all out in the open now, and Tories have gone down in the polls as a direct result of them trying to stop freedom of speech for people working as freelancers for the BBC. And don't forget, Andrew Neil, right, the big slug man that looks like he's been, covered in grease and then rolled in iron filings. He actually was the editor of Spectator magazine while he was hosting the BBC's flagship politics show. Yeah, that was fine. Yeah, no bias there. Just to those international viewers who might not know what Spectator magazine is, imagine the Sun newspaper, but even more of a fucking Nazi publication. That's the Spectator. It's pretty right wing, to put it mildly. The Spectator was previously edited by none other than Boris Johnson, in which he claimed that the people of Liverpool were wallowed in perpetual victim status. And, well, someone who wrote for his magazine said this, but he was the editor, so he signed off on it. We don't know if he actually wrote the words, but they look like something he would write. And accused the fans of being drunk at the Hillsborough disaster in 1989 and turning up at the back and basically causing the deaths of 96, now 97 people. And, apparently it was the fans' fault, and we just never took responsibility for it as a city. That's Boris Johnson for you. Any Scousers out there who have ever voted for Boris Johnson in any way, shape or form, either by voting for Brexit or voting for the Tories or maybe voting for the Mayor of London because they live in London now, I don't know. You are fucking traitors, and I hope you never, ever, ever come back to my city. Just saying. Pisses me off when someone can be so horrible about our hometown and yet people are like, yeah, that's fine. That's cool. He makes me laugh. He makes me laugh. Wow. Anyway, so the good result is, well, first of all, Lineker won. So today came out that the BBC have stood down. They've capitulated. They've surrendered. They've run up the white flag. They've been given a nice little yellow feather, white feather of cowardice. There you go. The yellow belly custard creams of the BBC have folded like a house of cards, and Lineker's back on the TV. And as of the last check of what's happening in the news, Richard Sharp still hasn't resigned. But everyone's saying that he's going to, including Gina Miller and Sky News and other news sources are like, he's going to resign. He's got to resign. Come on. He has got to resign. But he still hasn't resigned because he's a Tory. And what do Tories not do? Have a soul. No. Also, what do they not do? They don't fucking resign unless they absolutely have to, unless their back's against the wall, unless there's absolutely no way out. These are the type of people who would kick women and children out of the lifeboats to ensure that they escape intact while everyone else goes down with the ship. If you had the misfortune to be drowning next to a Tory who was also drowning, they would push you under in order to keep their head above water for a few more seconds, because that's what Tories are like. And you know this. You might be thinking, Graham, that's a bit fucking harsh, but come on. Think of the Tories that you know in your life. Think about how they'll react in that situation. You know it's true. Fiona Bruce stated she was obliged to act as she did, according to Twitter. No, she was not obliged, because if she was going to give the whole story, she wouldn't have stopped it at his friends said it was a one-off. She would have continued to say, but Boris Johnson's mum claimed that it happened on many, many occasions. And she didn't say that because she didn't want, the Prime Minister's dad to feel bad because Boris Johnson can't feel bad. Because, oh my God, it's like that episode of freaking The Twilight Zone where you've got to be really, really, really nice to Anthony, this little kid, because he has powers and he can make things happen. He's played by Bill Mummy, who went on to be in Lost in Space. He was the little boy, Will Robinson, in Lost in Space. Everyone's got to do the Robbie Robot impression. And he was also in Babylon 5. And Barnes and Barnes, who sang Fish Heads. Okay, just a little bit of a factoid for you there. I once dated a female psychopath and was lucky to escape. There were scary people out there. Yeah, Plum Duff. I've had some close shaves. But myself. Philip says, BBC management should be trash, but not the BBC as a whole. Surely. The BBC as a whole, Philip. No, you're right. The BBC politics, BBC News has been taken over by the Tories. And like I said yesterday on Sunday Roast, if you watched it, I said Boris Johnson and the Tories, that they have like this reverse Midas touch, and instead of everything that they touch turning to gold, everything they touch or go near turns to shit. They destroy everything around them. They're like a character like in a superhero comic or something, and as they walk you can see the grass dying under their feet. They put their hand on a tree and the tree just goes black and dies, and all the leaves shrivel up and fall to the ground like ash. That's what they're like. This is the Tory party at the moment. I mean, fucking hell. They are so far from what they used to be. And they used to be pretty fucking right-wing, do you know what I mean, in the 80s. But now, if Thatcher was still alive and she was still in the Tory party, she'll be getting told that she was too woke for the party and to fuck off and join their mate, Winston Churchill's fucking grandson, Nicholas Soames. Yeah, go on, you left wokey, tofu-eating bastards. Yeah. I don't know. But yeah, it is very interesting that Gary Lineker couldn't write a tweet, but Andrew Neil, Gary Lineker, football pundit, nothing to do with politics, can't write a political tweet. Andrew Neil, literally fucking the politics guy on the BBC, editor of an incredibly right-wing magazine. What, can we not have Ian Hislop on Have I Got News For You anymore? Because he edits the Private Eye, and that makes fun of the government. It really does. Do you remember when Have I Got News For You did a Boris Johnson special last year, and all the Tories were up in arms? You can't do that. You can't say that. And they got rid of the MASH report, didn't they? And then they got rid of Mock the Week, and now they're trying to get rid of Have I Got News For You because it takes the piss out of the government. It tells people what's actually going on and how much of an absolute fucking shit tip the people running this country are right now. It is a screaming monkey clown car on fire. It's gone off the cliff. It's already gone off the cliff. I'm going to say it's heading towards the cliff. It's gone off the cliff. And do you know what? The whole of the rest of the nation is attached by a fucking rope, and we are struggling right now. We have the highest fucking fuel bills in the world. In the world, ladies and gentlemen. In the world. Pop quiz. Who has the highest energy bills in the world? Is it the people who live at the South Pole? No, it's Britain. Here, now. The highest energy bills of anywhere in the world. Right now, in this country. And we're getting dragged towards the cliff edge by this dead weight of this screaming monkey fucking clown car that is the Tory party and the Brexit Tears and the Nigel Farages of this world and the Gammon Box News motherfuckers and the Talk TV and Murdoch's horrible little lying shitty press, the world of the news of the world, the people who hacked the fucking voicemail of dead teenagers, the Sun newspaper, the fucking Mail, the Mail that's had this famous headline, "Hurrah for the brown shirts." Hurrah for the brown shirts. That's literally what they had in their fucking newspaper in the 1930s, and not much has changed. The fucking Express, which is on a one fucking paper mission to go through every inanimate and animate object in the universe and declare whether it causes or cures cancer. The Express that's still obsessed with Princess Diana 20 fucking 5 years after she fucking carked it. Still going on about her. Oh my God. The Telegraph, the pretend grown-up paper of the lot of them. It's a guttural, tabloid, sleazy piece of shit newspaper run by a bunch of coked-up toffs. And that brings me to my big point that I wanted to make tonight. Cocaine. Yeah, Cocaine bears out in the cinema. I would recommend, but I haven't seen it yet because there's no fucking subtitle showings up here in the north. Bastards. But, at a reasonable time so we can actually, go to the cinema. But the Tory party, and I have this on good authority, the Tory party of this country is awash with cocaine. Stop. Have a think about that for the moment. Just for a moment. Doesn't it all make sense now? Yeah, I thought it would. The media is awash with cocaine. What does cocaine do to people? Well, first of all, it makes them talk a lot, I guess. A lot of shite. We've all been there. But also, it makes people really fucking arrogant. It makes people think that whatever stupid idea they got in their head is the best idea that anyone's ever had, ever. It makes people think that they should be in charge. It makes people lose their inhibitions and lose their sense of, modesty, let's just say. It's a cunt drug. It really fucking is. And I don't want to hear in the comments about how you love taking it every weekend. I couldn't give a shit. I've never taken it. I never fucking will. It is a cunt drug. And if you can afford it, oh my God, can you throw in a super chat, please? Because I'm fucking on my bones and my arse here up in Durham. I'm freezing for a start because we can't afford to put the fucking heating on because the fucking Tories have made it so expensive. Meanwhile, Rishi Sunak, right, has had to have a special fucking new transformer station put in near his house in Yorkshire because his heated swimming pool is using so much electricity. I wish I was making this up. I'm really not. You can fucking Google it now. Look up Rishi Sunak's heated swimming pool. Oh, but it's okay because he actually paid for it to be done. It wasn't done, paid for by the rest of us who had to pay these extraordinarily high energy bills. It's just the fact that, this is one of his, 11 houses that fucker's got. And he's the Prime Minister of this country, and he's saying about the poorest, the most wretched fucking people on the fucking planet, the people who have lost everything. They're the problem. The people they've lost their home, they've lost their job, they've lost everything they own. They've lost their laptop, they've lost their PlayStation, they've lost their television, they've lost all of their mementos, they've lost all of their heirlooms, they've lost all of their trinkets, all those little things that you have around your house that make you happy. They are gone. They do not have them anymore because they are refugees. All they've got are the clothes on their back and whatever they could put in a fucking grab bag before they left. And they're the problem, says one of the richest men in the world, who's our Prime Minister right now, who has just had to put in a special fucking transformer in order to, by transformer, they've actually had to put in a special power supply to his fucking country palace or whatever the fuck it is to heat his swimming pool. Meanwhile, under the Tories, over 300 swimming pools around the country have closed down since 2010. And the swimming pool by us here in Durham is fucking freezing. I know, because we go on usually today. I didn't go today because I was prepping for a show. But normally I go and it's fucking freezing because they've turned the fucking heat down because of the energy bills. So while the rest of us are freezing our proverbial tits off, Rishi Sunak is getting the fucking National Grid to put in a special measure so he can have a fucking heated pool. Mate, if that doesn't enrage you, you need to check for a pulse. Seriously. Wow. Wow. Graham Haller says, £5, turn the heating on for a bit. Thank you very much, Graham. I really, really appreciate that. And I will turn the heating on for that. What we could do with that is I could probably turn it on, get the radiators hot, and then turn it off again. One of the biggest problems of not having the heating on is the towels, because they just don't dry. They just don't. So you wake up the next day, you have a shower, and the towel is still fucking damp from the day before, and you're like, motherfucker. And I was thinking, yeah, we're March now, beginning of spring. It's fucking snow. It's so fucking cold. Anyway, Phil says, put this towards a hot water bottle. Thank you very much. And number 3's put £25 in for me. Oh, thank you very much, Richard. You are an absolute fucking legend. Yuli Kaluda says, Guardian, only last month, the operators of a swimming pool near the Prime Minister's home said it would reduce public access because of the increased cost of electricity. Yeah, exactly. There was a lady on Graham's Discord having problems with her permissions. Could you help her, please? Add some context. Yeah, I'll tell you what. At the end of this, I'll just nip over to Discord for a bit and help anyone else who needs help. And indeed, Alan Sugar and Cameron Brady have made political comments and are both political due to being members of the House of Lords. Will they be dismissed? I bet not. Says Freckle Puny. Yeah. Alan Sugar said basically vote for Boris Johnson. He did say vote for Boris Johnson during a fucking election. And the BBC were fine with that because he was saying right-wing stuff. Jeremy Clarkson, he was on the BBC payroll for many, many years until he punched a producer in the face because his fucking sandwich was cold or some such shit. So, yeah, privately educated, of course. Jeremy Corbyn, sorry, Jeremy, yes, he is. No, I meant Jeremy Hunt. No, not Jeremy Hunt, sorry, but he is. Jeremy Vine, no, not Jeremy Vine, he is. But, I mean, they're all privately educated. Jeremy Kyle, no, not Jeremy Kyle or Jeremy Vine or Jeremy Corbyn. Which Jeremy is it? Jeremy Hunt, no. Who's the one who didn't go to private school? No, there isn't one. Okay, yes. Jeremy fucking Top Gear, him. He made the most horrific fucking comments while he was working for Top Gear. And the BBC would always say, oh, well, he's a freelancer. Sometimes he made really fucking horrific comments while on Top Gear. Not just like on Twitter afterwards going, yeah, you should shoot the strikers, you should kill them all, yeah, with guns. No, he actually went to to Argentina with a number plate that was H982FKL. And bullshit, they didn't realise that would cause offence there because that was obviously the year 1982 and FKL for Falklands, the year of the Falklands Wars. And they're like, oh no, we didn't realise that. I've seen interviews with fucking James May where he still maintains that they didn't fucking realise that it might cause offence. I'm just like, yeah, bullshit, mate, bullshit. And don't forget, there was also the time that Jeremy Clarkson almost said the N-word for a laugh on an outtake from Top Gear. And there was another one where he made a derogatory, a racist comment about someone from Southeast Asia as part of the show. And all this stuff he wasn't dismissed for. He punched a producer and suddenly, he's got to get himself another job. Wow. And that's what it took. And then this fucking, what's his name? Tim Dopey. He was on, Tim Davey, he was on the news yesterday saying, well, we've got to be fair and we've got to be impartial. And I'm just like, you fucking horrible little toady prick put there by his political masters of the Tory party. And he's there, his shoulders up and his tongue hanging out. Hey, yes, master, yes. Like fucking Igor and fucking Frankenstein. Jesus Christ, grow a pair. I know that's a bad expression. I don't like using the word man up. I don't agree with that. Let's say grow a pair because that could mean ovaries. It could mean bollocks. I don't know. Eyes, ears. I don't know. A pair of hemispheres of brain. But yeah, I wish they would just find their courage instead of just going for the easy option. And this idea that, oh, no, it's fine, it's fine, everything's fine. We've got to say everything's okay. We've got to give a balanced argument about everything. It's all about balance. So if we have 50 scientists all screaming that we need to do something about the environment, we need to bring on one person who's been privately educated and sent to some really posh school, and he's funded by the oil companies, the fossil fuel companies, the death companies, the companies of death, the companies that are destroying this planet, the companies that are polluting this planet, to incredible profits for themselves and their shareholders, whoever they may be. And these horrible fucking companies are paying people like, you know, the Tim Davie, not him personally, but, you know, like people like that, to go on TV and go, oh, there's some debate to be had here. Have we spoken about hydrogen? Let's do hydrogen. No, let's not do hydrogen. Hydrogen's a shit idea, right? Fuck off. It's a bad idea. Look, I've got some things in my head. I think HS2's a bad idea. They should do low speed too. I think that crypto's a bad idea. I think it's a con. I think it's a fucking pyramid scheme. And I think that hydro is bullshit. Not hydro, sorry, that makes it sound like water power. Hydrogen power is bullshit on toast, because it is just never going to work. Never, ever going to work, because in order to make the hydrogen, you need to burn fossil fuels. Realistically, if you use renewable energy to make the hydrogen, you may as well just use the renewable energy. Just saying. Anyway, back into the comments just for a moment. Canal Frup. Oh, wow, that's 20 Singaporean dollars. Thank you very much, Canal. Fascinating to watch this downward spiral into Dickensian squalor. Tokens for the gas meter. Thank you very much. Thank you. I'm old enough to remember the days when you did have to actually put fucking 20p into the electricity meter, and if you didn't, it sort of turned itself off. Great days. Hey, it's Emmy here. Can't stay tonight, but can you fix the permissions on Discord for me, please? Emmy, yes, I will try and get. I'll get onto that after the show tonight. Please remind me when I go onto Discord afterwards. I thought I'd already done it, but I will do it again. It's pronounced Igor. That's from John Barleycorn. Is that Young Frankenstein? All very Martin Feldman. Is it? All very far from Christianity, which many Tories claim. So far from Christianity. Yeah, well, I'm an atheist, but I think I'll get on with Jesus. I think we'll get along a lot better. I'll get along a lot better with Jesus than I would Jacob Rees-Mogg. I'm pretty fucking certain of it. Grow a spine to 30 burns. Yes, grow a spine. Hey G, they found more bags of coke in the toilet of the House of Parliament than the Albert on a Saturday night, if that's possible. Great tonight, mate. That's from Pete Crosby in Liverpool. The Albert is a pub on Lark Lane, which is kind of infamous for the amount of gack, the amount of Bolivian marching powder, for the amount of nose candy that people decide would be a good idea to take to have a good time, because they can't have a good time with it. I find it personally insulting if I'm out. I've said this before. I find it personally, if I'm out with someone and they go off to do a line of cocaine, I just leave. I just fuck off. It's like texting me, go, where have you gone? Well, I'm obviously not being entertaining enough. Enjoy. Yeah, I'm a twat. I would get on with Beelzebub better than HIRM. Yeah, that's probably true. He's got all the best tunes. Unicolina says, how did Italy build their under 2-hour trains, Rome to Florence, Rome to Naples? It cost €19 when I was there in 2027. They built it sensibly out of tracks. Yeah. Hell on earth, gates of. Indeed. Would I be wrong to suggest perhaps the world is ending? The world as we know it is ending, Plum Duff. I don't know what the world's going to look like in 30 years' time, but it's going to be nothing like this. Because at the worst possible fucking time, the worst possible people are in charge of the world. We had Trump in America, we had Boris Johnson here, you had that fucking absolute gobshite Bolsonaro in Brazil burning down the rainforests with abandon. You had that horrible toad Duterte over in the Philippines, which is a country that's under grinding amounts of poverty. And and then he got replaced with Imelda Marcos, and Fernando and Imelda Marcos's son, who's now the president of the Philippines. In Hungary, you had Orban. Obviously, you've got Putin in Russia, who's been a nightmare since forever. You had Lukashenko in Belarus. Just all the worst people happen to be in charge of some of the biggest and most important countries. You know, President Xi in fucking China. He's a gobshite and he looks like Winnie the Pooh. And at a time when we really need leadership and compassion, foresight, intelligence, and a drive, an almost superhuman drive to do the right thing, which is to protect our living environment for generations to come. We're not even protecting the environment for the generations that are here right now. Yeah. So, it's not looking good. However, there is some light at the end of the tunnel. The light for me, as I've said before, is young people. Young people are becoming more left-wing as they age, which is the first time in, I think, history that that's happened. Normally it goes the other way. And that's remarkable. And also it bodes well for the future. Unfortunately, you're going to have an entire generation of older people, the younger boomers and the older Generation Xers, who are going to be up shit creek when they get old enough that they need nursing home support, because there's literally going to be no one left in the country to look after them, because we don't want foreigners coming here. And I was watching an Aid Thompson TikTok earlier, and he pointed out that in London it's £1,500 for childcare fees. £1,500 a month for childcare fees. That's what you would pay if you had a hire purchase car, like a Ferrari. So having a child now has become a luxury item. Same as like your little designer chihuahua in your fucking handbag if you're Paris Hilton. A baby now is a status symbol like it never was before. What are we doing? There's just going to be no one. There's going to be no one to look after us in our old age. Because the older generation who are there now, who are being looked after just about, don't want foreigners coming here, and they don't want people having babies because, you know, it costs the state too much or something. I don't fucking know. They're idiots. There's an entire generation whose motives come across to me as a little bit suspect. And I know it's not everyone. Sorry, entire generation is a bad thing, bad way of putting it. There is a large proportion of a certain cohort who, as far as I'm concerned, are batshit insane. There's no two ways about it. You can make excuses about them being old and dothery and not really knowing what's going on and all this kind of stuff, and having left school at 14, what do you expect? But no, I'm not having that. Back in the day, the elderly were looked up to by the rest of society, by the rest of the town, by the rest of the village, because they had wisdom to impart. Now, it seems like the older people, not all of them, I will stress that again, not all of them, but a good number of them have only stupidity and, damage to impart. Like, literally, they're doing damage. They're doing the devil's work for him by stopping any kind of progress towards a cleaner, fairer, more egalitarian state, a community. Remember, community, a society in which we look after each other. They're doing everything in their fucking power to stop that from happening. From voting for Brexit, to voting for the Tories, to going on these TV shows like Question Time and sitting there and going, well, you know, if young people stopped having their avocado toast, they'll be able to afford childcare. Yeah, mate, avocado toast isn't 1,500 fucking pounds a slice. I've checked. Jesus Christ. Yuli Kaluda says 1,500 for the childcare. You can almost get 3 disabled people for that. Yeah. Plum says, did you hear about the man who taught his dog to play the flute on the underground? It went from barking to tooting. That's terrible. That is terrible. Although today I did post a terrible joke on Facebook, for which I should be eternally ashamed, but I'm not, which was, I always thought Lulu was, I found out today that Lulu was Scottish. I always thought that she was born in Toulouse. I'll just let that hang there like a really stinky fart. Okay, moving on. South Korea and Japan have a birth rate lower than 1. They don't have integration, so we'll see what is to come. Yeah, Japan is particularly racist from what I hear. Great. That bodes well for the future. And also, their economy's hardly grown since the 90s, probably because they don't really do immigration very much. And as I've said before, if immigration was bad for the economy, North Korea would be the richest country in the world and America would be the poorest. But it's not, because actually immigration is really, really good for any given economy. In fact, if the first economy in the world that just opened its doors and said anyone who wants to come and live and work here can, would be the richest economy very, very, very quickly. Very, very surprisingly quickly, but no one's got the balls to do it. But said that again, spine. No one's got the spine. No one's got the gumption. No one's got the true grit to do it. It's better. The world is doomed, Graham. You tried your best, says T-Football. You know, I've got hope. I've got hope for the future. Have to have the avocado on toast. Can't get any eggs this week. Yeah, it's true. Forget about those tomatoes, indeed. I'm not being looked after except by you guys. That's number 3. The state has failed me. Yeah, Richard, what can I say? I agree. The state has failed you. The state is just failing, full stop, because the Tories have been in charge for 13 years. To be more precise, of the last 44 fucking years, 31 of them have been under Tory rule, and it's been a nightmare. They've done absolutely everything in their power to cock up society and make things demonstrably worse for everybody, except the super rich and the people who want to be super rich but never will be. I told you before, the only non-privately educated Jeremy you keep forgetting is Beadle. It's Jerry Beadle! Give him a big hand! Only 2 people are going to get that joke. Yes, indeed. It's a weird thing about the name Jeremy, isn't it? Immigration might be good for the economy, but is it good for the working class? Brexiteers might say, discuss. That's from Jim Bob Robop. Yes, it is good for the working class. It's very good for the working class, because the more immigrants you have in a country, the more jobs you have. At the moment, we've got all these bloody job vacancies, and you've got a lot of people, a fuckload of people. I know a lot of people very close to me who are effectively doing 2 or 3 jobs, 3 persons worth of job, because they just don't have the people. They don't have the people there. You got other people who are doing literally 3 different jobs just to make ends meet. So there's 2 different things there. You got somebody who's got 1 job, but they're doing the work of 3 people, and then you got somebody who's got 3 freaking jobs. Like, one of the big problems that we've had for a long time is that whenever you get a government who wants to try and appeal, I guess, to I don't know, the base. I don't know, people, they talk about jobs. They go on about jobs being the be all and end all. And I want there to be a break in that mentality. Your job doesn't define you. Your job shouldn't be the be all and end all of your life. You shouldn't be remembered for years and years. You know, unless you were an artist or a musician or something like that, you know, where your job was something that you gave society. If your job is working in a bank or just, you know, doing administration or fixing computers or something, then that should not define your life. The decisions that you make, the people that you hang out with, the friends that you make, the parties you have, they should define your life, not your freaking job, especially if it's not a particularly creative job, if it's just almost a job for the sake of having a job. And that's why I'm not particularly concerned about AI taking over and making it worse for everyone, because what's going to happen is people aren't going to have to do these crap jobs, and we're going to have universal basic income. As far as I'm concerned, because I can't see any other way of doing it. And I've said this loads of times, so you're probably sick of hearing it, but I find it really weird the way we look at work. The way we think, if I do my own dishes, that's not work. But if I do my neighbour's dishes, that's work. If I look after my own children, that's not work. But if I look after my neighbour's children, that work. They can pay me for that legitimate work. You're doing the same thing. You're doing literally the same motherfucking thing. So yeah, we need to have this discussion where we say, look, our job's the be all and end all. Why don't we try and create a society that moves beyond this idea that you are defined by your job, and have a system where people can try things. They can become entrepreneurs. They can become artists. They can become musicians without the fear of being left destitute as a result. And that's something that the toffs don't have. That's why the upper class absolutely dominate the arts right now, because they can afford to live in London for 10 years without a proper job, and be able to, by proper job, I mean a 9-to-5 job, and go to audition after audition after audition until they actually get they actually get somewhere. And it's a whole wave of British actors now who are all toffs. They're all aristocrats. Benedict Cumberbatch famously is a descendant from a slave-owning family. I mean, he's a good actor. I like him. But at the same time, I'm thinking, bloody hell, yeah, that's a bit on the nose, that. And I don't mind it so much if they're just going to play toffs. What I do object to, though, is when a privately educated toff plays someone who's working class. That pisses me off. I don't mind if a working class person plays a toff. I can live with that, yeah? But when it's someone who is rich and privileged and has no fucking clue what it's like to scrabble around in the back down the back of the fucking sofa for 20p to put the fucking lecky back on, no, I'm not having it. You know, I'm not saying I'm working class, by the way. I'm not. I'm middle class. I own that. I'm not one of these middle class people who go, oh, well, I'm working class because my parents worked. No, I had a very middle class upbringing. My parents, we had cars, we had a refrigerator. I went to university, middle class. But yeah, there are a lot of job worths out there from T-Football. They are their jobs. It's their life. Yeah, I mean, the thing is with UBI and the idea that you could do what you want, if people want to do those jobs because that what makes them happy, they can go do those jobs. I mean, there's people who have jobs that they don't necessarily need to have. They could do something else, but yeah, they do enjoy them. They do enjoy doing those things. Each to their own. But, I mean, I would like to see the poor bastards who have to work down a fucking sewer paid loads of money for doing it. Because I don't want to do it. Do you want to do it? I don't want to do it. I don't want to climb down a fucking sewer and clean it out and get rid of a fucking fat bird called Boris. I don't want to do that. So the people who do, I don't see why they should be on fucking minimum wage. I think they should be paid quite a lot of money for doing that. Myself, I mean, and then you got these people who write columns for newspapers, and they get paid hundreds of thousands of pounds for writing stuff. And they talk about hard-working families. They've done a hard day's work in their life. They literally write stuff, and they have nannies for their kids, and they have a cleaner to clean the house. They don't have to do it themselves, like normal people like us. It just, yeah, frustrating. I refuse to define myself by class. It's what the privately educated toffs want, so I'm not doing it, says John Barleycorn. That's fair enough. Hunt wants people in their 50s who have taken early retirement to return to work and carry on for the next 20 years. Yeah, they're going to have to. Oh, well. Shouldn't have voted Tory, should you? AI is just a weaving frame, spinning Jenny. It will improve lives. I agree. I absolutely agree. And it will make my life easier, because stuff that I want to do, I can just now throw it through AI, and it'll do it for me. Because for all the things I want to do, there's not enough hours in the day. There really isn't. Even a decent journalist should be remembered. Indeed, yeah. The part of the problem is that often at a party, the first thing you ask is, what do you do for a living? Yeah, can you imagine when people ask me that? I just don't know what to say. I just go, and then I go, oh shit, what do I tell them? What do I say? You know, because if I go, oh, I've been to every country in the world without flying, so what? I mean, I don't mean so what. I mean, it's kind of cool that I've done that, but at the same time, that's not what I do for a living. What do I do for a living? I make videos on YouTube. I own an island in Panama that I won in a game show that actually cost me money. But one day, some eccentric millionaire might come along and say, "Hey, Graham, I like the cut of your island jib. Here's some money to turn it into an awesome eco retreat for people to go and stay. That's not quite as expensive as the eco retreat next door to my actual island, which is $1,800 a night." Wow. You'll get my island for a whole month for less than that. Right, where are we? What is Amy Winehouse's favourite tube station? Hyde Barnet. That's some spank flaps. Going all the way to Cockfosters there. And we got John Barleycorn. One of the earliest computers is the Jacquard Loom. A computer is just a programmable machine. It doesn't matter that it's mechanical and doesn't do maths. That's very true. And one of the first programmers was Lady Lovelace. What was her name? I don't want to get mixed up with the porn star who had a very similar name. Ada Lovelace, one of the very first programmers in history of in the Victorian era. Plum Duff. I always buy chocolates for the toilet cleaners at Euston Station. They work so hard and ignored by the majority. Oh, that's really nice, Plum Duff. I like that. Wanna be Indiana Jones? That's what Ellie Burns and Chestnut said. I say, it's far too energetic. I mean, like, seriously, if you're Indiana Jones, it would really hurt, wouldn't it? Because he goes through hell. You think about all the things that happen to him. He gets dragged behind the fucking Nazi jeep. He gets burnt. He gets suffocated. He gets half drowned. He gets whipped in Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. He gets proper like fucking flogged. Yeah, just doesn't sound like fun to me. No, I wouldn't want to be Indiana Jones. But the hat does help to keep the sun off my ginger complexion. Number 3, slightly more than that, AI is scary, especially when you consider who owns it. I've been studying the field since 1965. Wow. Adam says, according to ChatGPT, in 2018, you travelled from your hometown of Liverpool to Sydney, Australia, using a combination of trains, buses, bicycles, and boats. No, I didn't. You need to give it a down thumb there and put what I actually did in 2018, which is I fought against Brexit. Ada, there's a programming language named after her. Linda Lovelace says Uli Kaluda. That was the porn star that I was trying not to reference. Oh my god. Linda Lovelace was good at maths. You could put oh for God's sake. Grace Hopper literally changed the way we program computers. She wrote some of the first compilers and interpreters, which is pretty cool. That's from John Barleycorn. Graham is more handsome than Indiana Jones. Well, I don't know. Harrison Ford in Temple of Doom, he's pretty tasty. With a private island, you might say a wannabe James Bond villain. Yeah, imagine like Bond turns up to this villain's lair and the villain turns out to be Indiana Jones. As a little bit of a twist on the whole, Indiana Jones is just based on James Bond. That's why they cast James Bond as his father. Anyway, Pewdie. Everyone's laughing. Right, which is good. Pete Cosby says, thrown out of a fridge too. Oh yeah, he was exploded in a nuclear bomb. I kind of just forgot about that one. Shit, they made another Indiana Jones film, didn't they, in 2008, and it was awful. Oh god, it was so bad. And they had like a chase through the jungle, and they were in Peru because they had this crystal skull, which actually came from Mexico. Belize. It came from what was the name? What was the name of the place? Labuan? I forgot the name of the place. There's a place in Belize where this crystal skull was found by the daughter of an archaeologist on her birthday in the ruins. I think he just put that there as a little bit of a, Easter egg gift thing. Anyway, people thought it was made by aliens, including like I think Arthur C. Clarke fell for this one, but anyway, it wasn't. It was just a trinket that was put into the ruins to confuse them. Anyway, the distance from the main ruins in Belize to Peru, the height at the Inca civilization, because you're getting the Mayans mixed up with the Incas. It's about the distance from Britain to Timbuktu, so you can see how out in Mali, so you can see how out that was geographically. But also, they start driving in these jeeps from Peru. They're in Peru. I'm pretty sure they're in Peru. They make a big thing about being in Peru, and then they drive through the jungle somehow when there's no road. I don't really understand how that works. For about 10 minutes, they have a bit of a chase scene and monkeys turn up for some reason. And then they go over the Iguazu Falls, which are literally thousands of miles away from Peru, on the border of Brazil and Paraguay and Argentina. And I'm just looking at this film and it's enraging me in just I mean, it's a shit film. It's got it's badly acted. Karen Allen is just happy to be there. The script is shite, but the geography, the errors in geography is what really fucked me off in that movie more than anything else. Indiana Jones wouldn't last 2 minutes in real on a Saturday night. A good maths movie to see is Hidden Figures, dealing with black female mathematicians at NASA who were instrumental in the 1989 moon landings, based on a true story. Yes, a very good film, although it does have that cunt out of Third Rock from the Sun or whatever it's called. No, not that one. Big Bang Theory. The guy who plays Sheldon in that is in it, and he's really annoying, just like he is in the actual comedy show, Further Back from the Sun. As a geek, as a proper signed up nerd to the nerdtastic, I know what the names of the stripes are called on Han Solo's trousers, or I know what the name of the giant spider that sucked the life out of the golden and silver trees of the Valor in Lord of the Rings. Oh my god, how do I know this shite? Anyway, I find that show a bit patronising. It comes across to me as a show like it was a show about Jewish people that wasn't actually written by Jewish people, and you're watching it going, there's something wrong here. And I think The Big Bang Theory is a show about geeks. It's not actually written by geeks. If you want to watch a show about geeks that's actually written by fucking nerds, watch Silicon Valley. Not Silicon Valley Bank, because that's gone bankrupt. No, Silicon Valley TV show. Mike Judge, guy who invented Beavis and Butthead and King of the Hill. Well worth watching. Right, Braverman should deport herself. I think she has Indian ancestors. I mean, she's playing with fire. As I've mentioned many times on this show, there was a guy called Timothy Treadwell back in the 1990s, I think. I think he died in the early 2000s. And there's a movie about it called Grizzly Man by Werner Herzog, which is well worth watching. He's the director of Fitzcarraldo. And talking about going over the Andes, unless you're Indiana Jones, and then the Andes don't seem to exist for some reason. It's about this guy, Timothy Treadwell, and he went to live with the bears because he thought the bears were his friends, and they fucking ate him. And I think that's a great example, just a fantastic example of what happens to people who aren't white, who want to be friends with Nazis. It's not going to end well for them, and it's not going to end well for their kids. I wish they'll think about that, but obviously they don't. Priti Patel. Did you see Russ in Cheshire's comment about Suella Braverman being what happens when you feed Priti Patel after midnight? I love that. Anyway, thank you so much for all of your wonderful comments. Ernie's just said AI is people write the code, and people's input trains it. AI does not create anything on its own, at least not yet. Indeed. I've seen one trailer for the new Indiana Jones where he claims not to believe in magic. Seems odd given the plot of the previous 4 films. Yeah, well, it's a return to form, I hope. Fingers crossed. Well, maybe if they made my Indiana Jones script that I wrote, I had the idea while I was in jail in Congo for 6 days, Indiana Jones and the Heart of Darkness, in which the Nazis get hold of Hitler's remains from the KGB archives under the Winter Palace in Leningrad, and they basically use those remains to resurrect Hitler using voodoo in West Africa. If that happens in the new Indiana Jones movie, I'm going to be so pissed off. Anyway, Indian Johnson. Just a quickie, what do you think about the Scott Adams, the guy behind the Dilbert comic strip, ruined his career, his legacy was racist tirade against black people like myself? I think he's a cunt, and he's ruined his legacy, and he's been cancelled. And I always like it when people are cancelled by the people, rather than by institutions or the Tory party. Funny that. I should have mentioned it earlier. The people who got about cancel culture the most are the same people who want to, the evils of cancel culture. They're the same people who want to cancel the people that they don't like. Yeah. It's almost as though they're massive fucking hypocrites. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I will be back on Wednesday, hopefully with my friend Ben Chambers of 16 Million Rising. He will be here in the studio because we're doing a couple of podcasts together. Whether I can get him on camera or not is another matter, but it'd be cool if he does actually come on for Prime Minister's Questions at 12 o'clock on Wednesday, and then I'll be back again on Thursday at 9 o'clock, or maybe a bit later than 9 o'clock, but I will be here on Thursday for the next episode of The War on Error, which is going to be winding up soon because I'm soon going to be moving channel to Labour Social. That's going to take place in the next couple of weeks. So, watch out for it. And subscribe to the new Labour Social channel once I get it all set up. Just a bit of pre-warning of what's going on. Number 3 says, good night all. And that's a good night to end on. Thank you very much for the super chats. Thank you for my wonderful patrons out there and my YouTube members. And if you want to head over to the Discord server, I'll be doing after hours for a little bit after this. And I'm going to try and get our friend there, Emmy, onto the server so she can use it. So until next time, I'll say thanks for watching. Hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye. Oh, that didn't work. Why didn't it work when I pressed fade? I did little finger guns and then I pressed fade and it didn't freaking work. I'll do it again. Here we go. Yay! It worked. Third time lucky. Oh, I don't know. Anyway, have a good night.